Hey guys, this is Vinay and today we're going to be talking about conditions. And first of all, welcome to my channel. If you know what conditions is, generally you can define them like if this is true, okay, if this is true, this is true, this is true is a condition here. If this is true, then this is going to happen, else this will happen. So let's see this in coding. What we have, okay, first let me tell you this. I define them, I classify them in two types. First one is normal condition and the second one is nested conditions. In nested conditions we have like another conditions block inside the first conditions block. Let me show you that. You will better understand that in the coding. So let's start with the normal conditions. First let me tell you the syntax here. Let's say if, and here comes our condition that I was telling you about. If condition, here comes our statements that it can be anything. Those statements can be anything, like if you want to print something, if you want to do something, if you want to append something to something. I mean, it's all about that something. If you want to do that something, it totally depends on you. If you have heard about like else if in other programmings, like if you have learned any other language, Java, C++, so we have else if there, but in Python we have elif. It's same to the, it's just the difference of the word. It's else if, elif, the both are same. And here comes also our statements. The next one, last one, is the else block. Here you put those statements that, okay, if everything is going to fail, that this one is going to work at last. So here comes also our statements. So this is our syntax. So let's start with the original program, a simple program that's just going to tell us which number is bigger and which number is smaller. So let's say we have a num1 is equals to 75 and num2 is equals to 85. So what we are going to do, we are going to check if num1 is greater than num2. Then we are going to print, okay, so the number 1 is greater than number 2. These indentation, always remember them, because without this you are going to get error. So let's use the elif block here, and the condition will be the num2. Okay, so the first condition was if number 1 is greater than number 2. The second condition is if number 1 is smaller than number 2. Okay, so we are also going to print num1 is smaller than num2. Okay, either a number is a greater or that number is smaller. The last condition is that left for us is, I mean, you should be thinking that, you should be guessing what's going to be the next condition. If you don't guess, then let me tell you, either those numbers are, either the first number is greater, either the small, or that number is smaller, or the both numbers are equal. So print, okay, the first condition failed, second condition failed, so it tells us, okay, neither it's greater or it's smaller, so the both numbers are equal. So if we run the cell, let's see what happened. Okay, so number 1 is smaller than number 2. Yes, indeed, number 1 is 75 and number 2 is 85. That is smaller. Okay, let's do it. 755. So we know that it's 755 is greater than 85. So this block here, this elif block here is going this if block here is going to get triggered, and it's going to print that number 1 is greater than number 2, because number 1 is greater than number 2. Okay, so number 1 is greater than number 2. But what happens if they both are equal? Okay, so what's going to happen is, now this condition will fail because number 1 is not greater than number 2, this condition is also going to fail because number 1 is smaller than number 2, and this else block is going to trigger now. And what it will do, that it will print that both numbers are equal. Yes, it's relatively easy if we talk about loops that we are going to study in the next lecture. And remember one thing, if you are doing something big, let's talk about intermediate programs. These conditions and loops are must thing. I mean, I'm not saying that you can do anything without them, but yes, you can do anything big without them. They are those necessary things that you're gonna use in your programs sooner or later. Okay, so that concludes with the normal conditions. So let's talk about nested conditions. Okay, so what nested conditions are? Let's say, okay, we are going to use the same program so that you don't get confused with the new one. Okay, this if nested conditions are that you are going to use another conditions in the first conditions. So to say that if, okay, we are going to get some another variables here. num3 is equals to 0 and num4 is equals to 1. Okay, so if num3 is smaller than num4, then we are going to print num3 is smaller than num4. Okay, so this is what we call the nested conditions, because there is a nest here. Okay, it is nested. These conditions are nested. This have if here, and inside this if we have another if. And it's not like that you can just have if. You can have as many as conditions you want, as many as nested conditions you want. But remember one thing always, that it's just going to slow down your program, because you know it's going to be a load. It's going to be a load to just render those or all those conditions, all those nested conditions. It's kind of a pain in the head. So let's use elif. If num3 is greater than num4, then we are going to print num3 is greater than num4. Okay, let's see what we have here. Okay, both numbers are equal because these numbers are equal here. Let's put it 45. Okay, so number 1 is greater than number 2 because this condition is triggered here, and if this condition is triggered, it will print this, but it's not going to just end here. It's also going to trigger these conditions here. So it will also check if number 3 is smaller than number 4. Yes, it is smaller than number 4. Then it also going to print this one. Number 3 is smaller than number 4, and here we have our answer. This is, I mean, it's not that big of a deal if you just talk about simple programs. But as much as you go further in these conditions, it's going to be complex. These conditions you just see here are just somewhat just a basic. So that's it. It concludes everything here, and I'll be posting these notebooks. I mean, not this one, a clean notebook, in the description down below, and I'll be also putting my GitHub repository link down below in the description, so that you can just go in my GitHub and fork this repository there. I have put all these notebooks there, all of the classes notebooks, and you can use them in your local system, and that would be great helpful for you and me too. Okay, I'd recommend forking, because that will also help me to count that, okay, so that many people are using my repository. Okay, so thank you so much, and see you next time.